The phone call came at 2:47 a.m., piercing through my deep sleep like a siren. I fumbled for my cell, squinting at the bright screen. Victoria Hartwell's name flashed urgently. My boss's wife never called me, let alone in the middle of the night. My heart hammered as I answered. "Riley, I need you," she whispered, her voice tight with panic. "Please. I'm at the Grandview Hotel, room 842. Something terrible happened and I need your help. You're the only one I trust." Before I could ask questions, she hung up. I sat frozen in bed, trying to process what just happened. Victoria Hartwell was married to Daniel Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell Industries, the manufacturing giant where I'd worked as executive assistant for 6 years. She was untouchable, glamorous, always draped in designer clothes and diamonds. Why would she need me? I pulled on jeans and a sweater, grabbed my keys, and drove through empty streets toward the Grandview. The entire ride, my mind raced with possibilities. An accident, a threat. My loyalty to Daniel made me want to help his wife, but something felt wrong. The hotel's golden lights gleamed coldly as I parked and rushed inside, my stomach twisting with dread. Room 842 was on the top floor. I knocked softly, and Victoria opened the door immediately. Her mascara smudged, hair disheveled. She wore a silk robe, and behind her I glimpsed champagne glasses on the nightstand and rumpled sheets. My breath caught. "Thank God you're here," she breathed, pulling me inside. The room smelled of expensive perfume and wine. "Riley, I made a mistake. Huge mistake. Daniel can't find out." I stared at her, understanding it was dawning slowly. "What kind of mistake?" She paced, wringing her hands. "I was with someone. Man. He just left. Daniel thinks I'm at a spa retreat this weekend, but if he finds out I was here..." Her voice cracked. "Our marriage, his reputation, everything will be destroyed." My mind reeled. She was asking me to cover for an affair. I thought of Daniel, who'd mentored me, who trusted me completely. Victoria grabbed my shoulders, her eyes desperate. "Please, Riley. If anyone asks, tell them I was with you tonight. We had dinner, watched movies at your place. That's all." I should have refused right then. But her desperation was overwhelming, and part of me feared what would happen if I said no. "Victoria, I don't know. Please," she whispered. "Just this once." I drove home in a daze, Victoria's perfume still lingering in my car. The city was waking up, early morning joggers passing by, oblivious to the weight I now carried. I had agreed to her request, though every instinct screamed it was wrong. Back in my apartment, I made coffee with shaking hands. What had I done? I'd essentially become an accomplice to Victoria's betrayal of Daniel. The man who'd given me opportunities, who'd believed in me when others didn't. 6 years ago, I'd started as a temp at Hartwell Industries, and Daniel had seen something in me. He'd promoted me, increased my salary, and treated me with respect. And now I was lying for his wife. I opened my laptop and stared blankly at the screen. My phone buzzed, a text from Victoria. "Thank you. You saved my life. I won't forget this." Felt sick. The coffee tasted bitter, and I poured it down the sink. I tried to convince myself it was a one-time thing, that I'd never have to speak of it again. But deep down I knew better. Secrets like this never stayed buried. Monday morning arrived too quickly. I walked into Hartwell Industries with a knot in my stomach, nodding at familiar faces in the lobby. The building was a gleaming tower of glass and steel, a testament to Daniel's success. I took the elevator to the executive floor, trying to appear normal. Daniel's office door was open. He stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing animatedly. When he saw me, he smiled and waved me in. I set his coffee on the desk and sorted through his schedule, avoiding eye contact. "Riley, good morning," he said warmly after ending his call. "How was your weekend?" My throat tightened. "Quiet. Relaxing. Yours?" Victoria was at a spa retreat, so I caught up on work. He chuckled. "Sometimes I think she enjoys those getaways more than being home." I forced a smile, my hands trembling slightly as I organized his papers. He didn't suspect anything. Why would he? I'd never given him reason to doubt me. But guilt gnawed at my insides like a hungry animal. Daniel launched into discussing an upcoming board meeting, and I took notes mechanically. All the while Victoria's desperate face haunted me. I wondered who the man was, how long the affair had been going on. 2 weeks passed in uneasy silence. Victoria didn't contact me again, and I tried to bury the incident in the back of my mind. But then, one Thursday afternoon, she appeared at the office. I was at my desk when I heard her voice, bright and cheerful, greeting Daniel's secretary. My pulse quickened. She swept into Daniel's office in a cream Chanel suit, kissing his cheek. They looked like the perfect power couple. Him in his tailored navy suit, her glowing and elegant. I busied myself with emails, pretending not to notice. After a few minutes, Victoria emerged and walked directly to my desk. "Riley, could we talk? Privately?" Her smile was pleasant, but her eyes held a warning. We stepped into an empty conference room. The moment the door closed, her expression changed. "I need another favor," she said quietly. "Tomorrow night there's a charity gala. Daniel will be there and so will I. But I'm meeting someone afterward. If Daniel asks where I am, tell him I had a headache and you drove me home early." My stomach dropped. "Victoria, I can't keep doing this." "You can and you will," she interrupted, her voice sharp. "Unless you want Daniel to know you've been lying to him all along." I stood frozen, her words sinking in like stones. She was threatening me. The desperation from that hotel room had transformed into cold calculation. Victoria tilted her head, studying me. "You understand, don't you? If Daniel finds out about that night, he'll wonder why you covered for me. He'll lose trust in you." She was right. I'd become complicit the moment I agreed to lie. My hands clenched into fists. "This isn't fair. Life isn't fair, Riley." She adjusted her designer handbag. "Be at the gala tomorrow. Wear something nice. And remember your story." She left me standing there, heart pounding. I wanted to scream, to confront her, to tell Daniel everything. But fear paralyzed me. Fear of losing my job, my reputation, everything I'd worked for. That night I barely slept. I kept replaying her threat, the casual way she'd trapped me. I thought about going to Daniel, confessing everything. But what would I say? That I'd lied from the start. By morning I decided to play along, just once more. Then I'd figure out a way to extricate myself from this nightmare. I didn't know yet that Victoria's plans ran far deeper than I could imagine. The charity gala was held at the city's grandest ballroom, chandeliers glittering above a sea of elegant gowns and tuxedos. I wore a simple black dress, feeling out of place among the elite. Daniel stood near the bar, laughing with business associates, while Victoria worked the room with practiced grace. I kept my distance, nursing a glass of wine, watching the clock. Around 10 p.m. Victoria caught my eye and gave a subtle nod. My cue. She approached Daniel, touching his arm, speaking softly. I saw him frown with concern. Moments later she walked toward me. "Riley, I'm not feeling well. Could you take me home?" I nodded, playing my part. "Of course, Mrs. Hartwell." Daniel appeared beside us, worry etched on his face. "Are you okay, darling?" "Just a headache," Victoria said, leaning into him. "Riley will take care of me. Stay and enjoy the event." He kissed her forehead. "Call me when you get home." We left together, walking through the grand lobby toward the valet. But once outside, Victoria's demeanor changed. She handed me her clutch. "Take my car home and park it in our driveway. Text me when you're done." "Where are you going?" I asked, though I already knew. He smirked. "That's not your concern." A black sedan pulled up, and she slipped inside. I drove Victoria's Mercedes through quiet streets, my hands gripping the wheel too tightly. Her car smelled of leather and her signature perfume, and I felt like an intruder in someone else's life. I pulled into the Hartwell Estate's long driveway, parking beside Daniel's Bentley. The house was dark, imposing. I sat for a moment, staring at the mansion that represented everything Daniel had built. Somewhere inside were family photos, memories, a life Victoria was risking for momentary thrill. I texted her. Car parked. Keys under the mat. Her reply came instantly. Perfect. You're a lifesaver. I walked to the end of the driveway and called a rideshare, waiting in the shadows. The night air was cool and I shivered. This had to stop. I couldn't keep enabling Victoria's affair, couldn't keep lying to Daniel. But how could I stop without destroying everything? The rideshare arrived, and I climbed in, exhausted. At home I collapsed on my couch, mind spinning. I thought about documenting everything. Dates, times, texts, just in case. Some instinct told me I'd need proof eventually. I grabbed a notebook and started writing, my hand shaking. If this ever came to light, I needed to show I'd been coerced. Over the next month, Victoria's demands escalated. She'd text me at odd hours, asking me to cover for unexplained absences, to confirm alibis, to lie to Daniel when he asked questions. Each time I complied, feeling the noose tighten around my neck. At work, Daniel remained oblivious. He trusted me completely, often praising my dedication. Riley, I don't know what I'd do without you, he said one afternoon, reviewing quarterly reports. His words were daggers to my conscience. I started having nightmares, visions of Daniel discovering the truth, his face crumpling with betrayal. I'd wake up gasping, sheets soaked with sweat. My health suffered. I lost weight, developed dark circles under my eyes. My friend Sophie noticed. Riley, you look awful. What's going on? I wanted to confide in her, but Victoria's threats kept me silent. Just stressed with work, I mumbled. Sophie frowned. Maybe take some time off. But I couldn't. Leaving would mean abandoning my documentation, my only protection. I kept meticulous records now, saving every text from Victoria, noting every lie I told. It was my insurance policy. Then, one Friday evening, everything changed. Victoria called, her voice tight. We need to meet. Tonight. It's urgent. We met at a dimly lit cafe across town, far from anyone who might recognize us. Victoria wore sunglasses despite the evening hour, her usual confidence replaced by visible anxiety. She ordered a double espresso, hands trembling. I'm pregnant, she said bluntly. And it's not Daniel's. The words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at her, speechless. She laughed bitterly. You're wondering how I could be so stupid. Trust me, I'm wondering the same thing. What are you going to do? Finally managed. She removed her sunglasses, and I saw fear in her eyes. I don't know. If Daniel finds out, he'll divorce me. I'll lose everything, the house, the money, my reputation. Then maybe you should tell him the truth, I said quietly. Before it's too late. She shook her head violently. No. There has to be another way. She leaned forward. I need you to help me figure this out. I recoiled. Victoria, I can't. This is too much. I've already done too much. Her expression hardened. You don't have a choice, Riley. You're in too deep. If I go down, I'm taking you with me. The threat was clear. I sat back, feeling trapped, suffocated. I left the cafe in a daze, Victoria's words echoing in my head. The pregnancy changed everything. This wasn't just about an affair anymore. This was about a child, about consequences that couldn't be hidden or explained away. At home, I paced my apartment trying to think clearly. Victoria was cornered, desperate, and desperate people did dangerous things. I needed to protect myself before she did something reckless. I pulled out my laptop and began typing everything, a detailed account of every lie, every threat, every demand she'd made. I dated each entry, attached screenshots of her texts. If this ever came to light, I'd need evidence that I'd been coerced. But there was someone else I needed to consider. Daniel. He was a good man and he deserved to know the truth. Yet how could I tell him without implicating myself? Sleep evaded me that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, weighing my options. Come morning, I'd made a decision. I would start distancing myself from Victoria, documenting everything, and preparing for the inevitable explosion. Because it was coming. I could feel it like a storm on the horizon, dark clouds gathering, ready to unleash devastation. Monday morning, I arrived at work early, hoping to avoid Victoria. But she was already there, sitting in Daniel's office, the picture of composure. They were laughing about something, and my stomach churned watching them. When she left, Daniel called me in. Riley, Victoria mentioned you've been helping her with some personal errands. I just want to say thank you. She's been going through a rough patch lately, and your support means a lot. Guilt crushed me. It's nothing really. No, it's something. He smiled warmly. You're more than an assistant, Riley. You're family. Family. The word made me want to cry. I excused myself quickly, retreating to my desk. I couldn't do this anymore. I had to find a way out. That afternoon I received an anonymous email. The subject line read, "You're not the only one." My heart raced as I opened it. Inside was a single sentence. Victoria Hartwell is not who she seems. Meet me if you want proof. An address was listed, a coffee shop downtown along with a time, 6 p.m. today. I sat frozen, staring at the screen. Who sent this? What did they know? Part of me wanted to delete it, to pretend I'd never seen it. But a stronger part needed answers. The coffee shop was crowded when I arrived, filled with students and freelancers tapping on laptops. I scanned the room nervously, unsure who I was looking for. Then a man at a corner table caught my eye and nodded. He was in his mid-30s, dressed casually, with an intense expression. I approached cautiously and sat down. You sent the email. I'm Nathan Cole, he said, extending his hand. I used to work at Hartwell Industries. In finance. I shook his hand warily. What do you want? He leaned forward, voice low. I want to expose Victoria Hartwell for what she is. A fraud and a thief. My eyes widened. What are you talking about? Nathan pulled out a tablet and slid it across the table. On the screen were financial documents, spreadsheets filled with numbers. For the past 2 years, Victoria has been embezzling money from Hartwell Industries Charitable Foundation. Small amounts at first, then larger sums. Over $3 million total. I stared at the documents, my mind reeling. How do you know this? I discovered it 6 months ago while auditing the foundation's accounts. When I confronted her, she got me fired. Claimed I was falsifying records. He tapped the screen, showing me more evidence. Bank transfers, forged signatures, shell companies. It was meticulous, damning. Nathan's revelation hit me like a freight train. Victoria wasn't just having an affair. She was a criminal. I scrolled through the documents, each one more incriminating than the last. Offshore accounts, dummy corporations, payments disguised as charitable donations. Why are you telling me this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Because you're close to Daniel, Nathan said. He needs to know what his wife is doing. But if I come forward, he'll never believe me. Victoria already destroyed my credibility. I sat back, processing everything. So you want me to expose her? I want you to help me gather more evidence. If we can prove this conclusively, Daniel will have no choice but to act. I thought about my own documentation of Victoria's affair, her threats, her pregnancy. Combined with Nathan's financial evidence, we could build an irrefutable case. But it would mean taking an enormous risk. What's in it for you? I asked suspiciously. Nathan's jaw tightened. Justice. Victoria ruined my career, my reputation. I want her to pay for what she's done. I understood his anger, I felt it too. But I needed to be smart about this. Give me time to think. I need to verify some things. He nodded, sliding a business card across the table. Call me when you're ready. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about Nathan's evidence. I pulled up my own records, the texts from Victoria, the timeline of lies. Everything pointed to a woman who was ruthless, manipulative, willing to destroy anyone who got in her way. I thought about Daniel, how devastated he'd be to learn the truth about his wife. But he deserved to know. He deserved to understand what kind of person he'd married. I made a decision. I would work with Nathan, but on my terms. I'd gather additional proof, create a comprehensive file, and then, when the time was right, I'd present everything to Daniel. But I had to be careful. Victoria was dangerous, and if she discovered what I was doing, she'd strike first. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a spy in my own workplace. I watched Victoria carefully, noting her movements, her phone calls. I accessed files I probably shouldn't have, cross-referencing Nathan's evidence with company records. Everything checked out. Victoria had been systematically stealing from the foundation for over 2 years, carefully covering her tracks. But not carefully enough. I met with Nathan twice more, comparing notes, building our case. The evidence was overwhelming. We had bank statements, email trails, witness testimonies from Foundation employees who'd noticed irregularities. Finally, we were ready. Before we could act, Victoria struck first. She called me on a Saturday morning. Her voice strangely calm. "Riley, I need you to do something for me. One last favor." My blood ran cold. "What is it?" "There are some files in Daniel's home office. Financial records from the Foundation. I need you to delete them." My suspicions were confirmed. She knew someone was digging into her embezzlement. "Victoria, I don't have access to Daniel's home office." "You will. I'm hosting a dinner party tonight. You'll be there as my guest. During the party, you'll slip away and take care of those files." "I can't do that." "You will, or I'll tell Daniel everything. About the affair, about how you helped me, about how you've been lying to him for months." Her threat was explicit now. Destroy evidence or be destroyed. I felt rage building inside me, hot and fierce. She thought she could keep controlling me, keep bending me to her will. "Fine," I said through clenched teeth. "I'll be there." But I had no intention of destroying evidence. Instead, I'd be gathering more. I immediately called Nathan and told him about Victoria's demand. His response was swift. "This is our chance. We're a wire." That evening, I arrived at the Hartwell estate wearing a dress Sophie had lent me and a small recording device hidden beneath my collar. My heart hammered as I walked through the grand entrance, greeted by the sounds of laughter and classical music. The party was elegant. Crystal glasses, gourmet hors d'oeuvres, and guests in formal attire. Victoria appeared beside me, radiant in a red gown. "Thank you for coming," she said sweetly, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Then quietly, "Daniel's office. 2nd floor. You have 20 minutes." I nodded, accepting a glass of champagne I had no intention of drinking. I mingled awkwardly, waiting for the right moment. Then I saw Daniel, deep in conversation with a board member, and I slipped away. The 2nd floor was quieter, lined with family portraits and expensive art. I found Daniel's office and eased the door open. The room smelled of leather and old books. His desk was neat, organized, so different from the chaos Victoria had created. I sat at his computer, fingers trembling. The files Victoria wanted deleted were right there, clearly labeled, Foundation Records 2023 to 2024. But instead of deleting them, I plugged in a thumb drive Nathan had given me and began copying everything. Minutes ticked by agonizingly slow. 15% copied. 30%. I heard footsteps in the hallway. The door opened and Victoria stepped in. Her expression was ice. "What are you doing?" I quickly unplugged the thumb drive, sliding it into my pocket. "Exactly what you asked. Deleting the files." She moved closer, eyes narrowing. "Show me." My mind raced. I pulled up the computer screen, showing her the empty recycle bin I'd prepared earlier as a decoy. "Done. They're gone." She studied me for a long moment, then relaxed slightly. "Good. Now get out of here before someone notices you're gone." I brushed past her, heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. I made it downstairs, weaving through guests, desperate to escape. But as I reached the front door, Daniel's voice stopped me. "Riley, leaving so soon?" I turned, forcing a smile. "Not feeling well. I think I'm coming down with something." He looked concerned. "Do you need a ride home?" "No, thank you. I called a car." He nodded, squeezing my shoulder. "Take care of yourself." I fled into the night, gasping for air. Done it. I had the evidence. But Victoria's suspicious gaze haunted me. She didn't fully believe me. I could see it in her eyes. Which meant I was running out of time. The next morning I met Nathan at his apartment. He lived in a modest place, walls covered with whiteboards and documents related to his investigation. I handed him the thumb drive, and he immediately plugged it into his laptop. His eyes widened as he scanned the files. "This is it. This is everything we need. Bank records, forged signatures, emails discussing the transfers. Riley, you just handed us a smoking gun." Relief flooded through me, followed quickly by fear. What happens now? Now we go to Daniel. But we need to be strategic. Victoria will deny everything, try to discredit us. We need to present this in a way that's irrefutable. We spent hours organizing the evidence into a comprehensive presentation. Financial documents, my testimony about her affair and threats, Nathan's testimony about being fired. Together, it painted a devastating picture of Victoria Hartwell. By evening we were ready. Nathan looked at me seriously. "Are you sure you want to do this? Once we go to Daniel, there's no turning back. Victoria will come after you with everything she has." I thought about Daniel's kindness, his trust. I thought about all the lies I'd told, the guilt that had been eating me alive. "I'm sure," I said firmly. "He deserves to know the truth." Nathan nodded. "Then let's end this." We requested a meeting with Daniel under the guise of urgent company business. He agreed to see us Monday morning before regular office hours. I barely slept the night before, rehearsing what I'd say, imagining his reaction. Monday arrived with gray skies and drizzle. Nathan and I entered Hartwell Industries together, carrying a leather portfolio containing printed evidence. The building felt different now, less like a workplace and more like a battlefield. Daniel's secretary ushered us into his office. He looked surprised to see Nathan. "Nathan Cole. I thought you were fired by your wife," Nathan finished. "Yes, that's part of what we need to discuss." Daniel's expression grew serious. He gestured to the chairs. "Sit. What's this about?" I glanced at Nathan, then back to Daniel. My voice trembled as I began. "Mr. Hartwell, there's something you need to know about Victoria. Something I should have told you months ago." For the next hour we laid out everything. I confessed to covering for Victoria's affair, and showed him my documentation of her threats. Nathan presented his financial evidence, explaining how Victoria had been embezzling from the foundation. We played the recording from the dinner party, where Victoria had asked me to destroy evidence. Daniel's face transformed as we spoke, from confusion to disbelief to devastation. Daniel sat motionless, staring at the evidence spread across his desk. His face had gone pale, and I saw his hands shaking slightly. Finally he spoke, his voice barely audible. "How long?" "The affair?" asked gently. "At least 3 months that I know of. The embezzlement, over 2 years." He closed his eyes, taking a shuddering breath. "And you knew? All this time you knew about the affair, and you said nothing." The accusation stung even though I deserved it. "She threatened me. She said if I told you she'd make sure I lost everything. I was scared and I made the wrong choice." "I'm so sorry," Nathan interjected. "Riley eventually did the right thing. She helped gather this evidence, risked everything to expose the truth." Daniel stood abruptly, walking to the window. Rain streaked the glass, distorting the city view. For several long minutes he said nothing. I held my breath, waiting. "I loved her," he finally whispered. "I gave her everything. How could she do this?" There was no good answer to that question. Nathan and I exchanged glances. "What do you want to do?" Nathan asked carefully. Daniel turned, and I saw steel in his eyes. "I want justice. For the company, for myself. Prepare everything for the board. We're calling an emergency meeting." The emergency board meeting was scheduled for that Wednesday. Daniel worked tirelessly, verifying every piece of evidence Nathan and I provided. His lawyers were brought in. Forensic accountants combed through the foundation's records. Everything confirmed what we'd discovered. Victoria remained oblivious. She continued her routine, attending social events, posting glamorous photos on social media. I watched from a distance, amazed at her ability to maintain the facade. Tuesday evening, Daniel asked to see me privately. We met in his office after hours, the building quiet around us. He looked exhausted, years older than he had just days ago. "Riley, I owe you an apology," he said quietly, "for putting you in an impossible position. Victoria manipulated you, threatened you. I should have seen what was happening." Tears stung my eyes. "I should have been stronger. I should have told you immediately." He shook his head. "You were trying to protect yourself. I understand that now." He paused. "After tomorrow, things will change dramatically. The board will act, and Victoria will face consequences. Are you prepared for that?" He nodded. "I am. I just want the truth to be known." He reached across the desk and squeezed my hand. "Thank you. For your courage." I left his office feeling lighter than I had in months, despite what lay ahead. Wednesday morning dawned cold and crisp. The board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. I wasn't required to attend, but Daniel asked me to be available. Nathan and I waited in a conference room down the hall, listening to the muffled voices through the walls. At 9:15, Victoria arrived. I watched through the glass as she swept into the building, confident and elegant. She had no idea what awaited her. The meeting lasted 3 hours. At one point we heard raised voices, Victoria's shrill with anger. Then silence. More muffled discussion. Finally the door opened. Daniel emerged, followed by board members with grim expressions. Victoria appeared last, her face a mask of fury and shock. Her eyes found mine across the hallway, and the look she gave me was pure hatred. "You," she hissed, starting toward me. 2 security guards stepped forward, blocking her path. Daniel's voice was cold. "Victoria, you need to leave. Security will escort you out." She whirled on him. "You can't do this. I'm your wife." "You're a thief and a liar," he said quietly. "And as of today, you're also unemployed. The foundation board has voted to terminate your position and pursue criminal charges." Her face crumpled. "Daniel, please. Leave," he repeated, turning away. Security led her toward the elevators. As the doors closed, I saw her shoulders shaking with sobs. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Victoria was formally charged with embezzlement and fraud. The media picked up the story and it exploded. "CEO's wife steals millions from charity," screamed the headlines. Her social media accounts were deleted. Her friends disappeared. Daniel filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. He threw himself into work, rarely speaking about Victoria except through his lawyers. The foundation money was mostly recovered through asset seizures and insurance. Nathan was rehired as head of the foundation's finance department. His reputation restored. I was promoted to chief of staff, a role that reflected Daniel's renewed trust in me. But the whole ordeal left scars. I still had nightmares about that hotel room, about Victoria's threats. Therapy helped, and slowly I began to heal. One afternoon, 6 months after everything fell apart, Daniel called me into his office. He looked better, healthier, more at peace. "Riley, I wanted to thank you again. For your bravery. I know it wasn't easy." Smiled. "It was the right thing to do. Even if it took me too long to do it." He nodded thoughtfully. "I've been thinking about second chances lately. About how we all make mistakes, But what matters is how we correct them. I agree, I said softly. He stood, extending his hand. To new beginnings, then. I shook his hand firmly. To new beginnings. Today, Hartwell Industries is stronger than ever. The foundation has implemented strict oversight measures, and public trust has been slowly restored. Daniel has started dating again. Someone kind and genuine, nothing like Victoria. As for Victoria, she was sentenced to 5 years in prison for embezzlement. Her empire of lies had crumbled completely. Sometimes I wonder if she thinks about that night at the Grandview Hotel, the moment that started everything. I've learned that secrets have weight, that carrying them can crush you if you're not careful. I've learned that doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always necessary. Nathan and I have become good friends. We sometimes have coffee and talk about how different our lives are now, how close we came to losing everything. My apartment is filled with light these days. I sleep better, smile more easily. The guilt has faded, replaced by pride that I eventually found the courage to act. One evening, I stood on my balcony watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. My phone buzzed, a text from Daniel. Thank you for everything. You saved more than just the company. I smiled, typing back. We saved each other. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt finally, truly free. The favor Victoria asked of me had cost her empire, but it had also taught me the most important lesson. Truth, no matter how painful, will always set you free in the end.